My experience, it's called a coronary CT scan. But essentially you lay on a table, they start an IV, and I think it's maybe 15 minutes. There's some dye contrast, there's some instructions of like holding your breath, and that was it. That is really not evasive at all. I think the results they come in pretty quick. Somewhere along the lines, Dr. Burns is like trying to meet with me. She's kind of, breaking the news to me essentially. She's like, you definitely have coronary disease. You have built up blockages in multiple arteries in your heart. The worst being in my LAD. I have a spot that's at 54%. As an individual, I would have zero clue without this test that I would have anything going on. And the cardiologist basically looked at me, as serious as possible. He's like, I wouldn't be surprised if you would have had a significant cardiac event in the next 5 years.
I was having symptoms of shortness of breath. I got my EKG done, I had another stress test done, I had a breathing test done, and I did that all on my own because I was concerned. I noticed we would go on a call and I'd walk up 3 flights of stairs with gear on or something, and I was like, I'm more out of breath than I normally would be or what I should be. Had all those tests, everything came back clear. And then a good friend of mine again said he was involved in the test that Chris Macklin and Wellness was putting on. And I said, hey, I just want to get in on it. I went and did the CT with contrast, had that scheduled and went and did that. And, thought nothing of it really, just, okay, well, we'll see what happens, what will go from here. Well, I got a call from Dr. Burns the next day and she said, you have an occlusion. We need to get you scheduled for a stent. After the procedure, the cardiologist says, I know your numbers with the contrast was only 70%. She told me you were closer to 90%. So of course at that time I'm like, well, it could have been another 6 months, it could have been another year, who knows how long, and something significant could have happened. So I was super grateful that they even had this test going on. Otherwise I wouldn't have known. I think it's imperative that we have this type of test go on because again, I'm only 52. Both doctors had said I'm fairly young. It definitely added, without a doubt, more years to my career, hopefully, and my life.
After getting the results of my CAT scan, I met with Dr. Burns. She went over the findings and it was determined that I had like the lowest grade of coronary artery disease, a little bit of plaque, no stenosis, and no real interventions needed by a cardiologist. But that paired with high cholesterol, she asked me to go on a statin. I had been asked to go on a statin in the past, and honestly, I really just didn't want to be on medications, and I was pretty obstinate about it. But having that graphic display, like a 3D model of my coronary arteries and a really good idea of what I was actually treating, it kind of motivated me to go on a statin, take care of my cholesterol, and manage those risk factors. Comparing this to things that we've done in the past, to me, this is the best cardiac screening we could get, just short of going into a cath lab. When I sat down with Dr. Burns, she had basically a 3D computer model of my coronary vessels. We were able to basically take a trip through each vessel and look at what was inside. It was pretty incredible. She was able to show me plaque specifically in an artery. I'm not going to go into the anatomy of it. She could tell if it was calcified or not calcified. She could tell if there was narrowing of that artery. Just short of taking your heart out and looking in it or going to a cath lab, this is really impressive technology.